Angela, why don't you start?
Sure. I just came from a BNI group, so sorry if I'm still a little on like BNI speed. My company is called Tempo Strategic. I do digital marketing, paid digital marketing. So I do pay-per-click, I do banner advertising, programmatic banner advertising, and social media advertising, all paid. Work in the education mostly. My biggest clients are in education, but I also have a background in specialty food and beauty, in new product launch, new product development. And I've been at this, have my own company for 30 years. So if there's any questions you have about what to do when everything goes wrong, I've gone through it. So I'm happy to answer any of those, because I've done everything wrong that you can do and I'm still here. And I'm looking, are we doing like looking for what we're looking for?
Sure.
Okay. So I like long-term clients. I like being able to help somebody build their business. My sweet spot for a budget is around $35,000 to $50,000 minimum for somebody. I can't do a whole lot with less. That's for a year. And I love the marketing planning, and really, I think because I have an entrepreneurial background, I'm pretty empathetic with where people are going. I'm very focused on what's their business goal. So where do they really need to get? And sometimes it's not obvious. Sometimes it's like, I need a raise, or I need to sell my company, or things that are a little bit hidden. And people share that with me, and I'm able to work that into the communication strategy for them. So that's kind of what I enjoy. I think that's it. Do I have time left?
Yeah, sure.
I don't know. Let's see. The results example that I share is, you know, for Yale School of Management, they have a course that takes 90 students, and we got them 5,035 qualified applicants in 3 months. So, you know, we drive really hard results. I really focus on that for people. And other than that, it's digital marketing, which is what it is now. So I write the copy for it. I will create the visuals if somebody doesn't have them. I would love to work with people who have a part of that business but don't have the media piece. You know, so I'm happy to kind of partner with people on that.
All right, great.
And Angela, what was your ideal budget?
35 to 50,000 a year is kind of a minimum where I can do anything for them.
Okay.
Angela, does that include ad spend, or is that just your costs?
That's the gross. That's everything in.
All right, good. So that's actually, that's not outrageous, 35,000, since most of that is ad spend, right?
Well, you know, when somebody comes to you with a $5,000 budget, there's nothing left. There's no, you know.
Right. No,
like
35,000, but of the 35,000, you're talking 28 is going to, 25 is going to ad buy, right? Something like that. Okay. Jason.
It's on the management level that they need. Yeah.
Right.
Right. No, she's got it right. And you're lucky sometimes they don't come with 5. And then you got to go.
Yeah.
All right. So I have like.
I'm sorry. I meant Jason Kramer.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just doing it in the order that people are showing up. There are 2 Jasons. I didn't realize that. Jason Kramer, and then Audrey, and then Kristen.
That's okay. We should just call it actually by last names. You know, that was the whole college thing. You know, it made things easier. Jason Kramer. It's good to see some familiar faces and some new ones. So my company is Cultivize. Think of us as a lead nurturing coach. There's 3 fundamental things we help businesses, be B2B or direct to consumer. They're having trouble tracking their leads. Their sales team is limited by an antiquated or no existence of a CRM. And they're also finding that if they are using some type of marketing automation technology, it's not really delivering the results that they were hoping for. So what we do is we focus on the ROI aspect for the marketing team and the sales team to help bring a strategy and implementation plan, as well as the ongoing coaching and strategy support to ensure that all the efforts, the marketing team and companies like Angela, if there's third parties involved, that we're tying all those marketing efforts to actual revenue. So regardless if it's digital, if it's radio ads, print ads, we can tie all that back to the sales team's efforts to actually pinpoint which marketing efforts are actually bringing in the revenue, and those need to be kind of modified and tweaked. Cultivize is formed from two kind of fundamentals. So it's cultivating customer relationships, and then it's optimizing sales performance. And the biggest thing that we see with companies is that they spend a lot of money to generate leads and often don't realize that it's a lot more cost effective to nurture the leads that are already in their pipeline. They could be sitting on a database of 10, 20,000 people that they can actually go back and cross-sell to, upsell, or maybe even just never sold to properly. And that's what we bring to the table. We can work with other technologies. We do work with a platform called SharpSpring. We're the only New York Platinum certified partner. We're one of about 20 in the entire world that have that certification. We know the system pretty well in and out. And that's the go-to technology we bring to the table if a company is looking to change or doesn't have an existing technology they're happy with.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah. Best leads, you still have about 45 seconds.
Yeah, so ideal leads for us in terms of direct clients, at least a sales team of two people, capping out maybe about 40, 50 salespeople, spending anywhere from, let's say 30 to 50 grand on media spend a year to generate leads. If they don't have a steady flow of pipeline leads coming in, we really can't help them. And their biggest thing for us is the culture of the company. There has to be a buy-in and sort of what I like to call a cheerleader on the company side that's going to embrace what we're bringing to the table and help support the team to take on the shift, because what we're really doing is we're shifting the process that the companies have been doing for their sales and marketing. And if they're not willing to take on that shift, then it's, not going to help. Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay. And who did I say was next?
Me.
Ask Jason a
I'm
question.
next.
Okay. That's Audrey.
Yep.
Okay.
Angela, you can ping me after.
Ready?
Yep.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm Audrey Glover-Dichter. I'm an attorney, and I'm a solo practitioner in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, but my practice is focused on advertising law, intellectual property law, and privacy law. So they're all federal practice areas, so it doesn't matter where I'm located. I help clients regardless of location, especially now on Zoom. So basically, I use all three fields of law to help agencies and businesses be legally compliant with their businesses, and especially their marketing campaigns. And I review marketing campaigns for compliance with, I start with FTC law, and then I add whatever other federal agencies, state and local regulations or laws that need to be reviewed to make sure your campaign is legally compliant. If there are other, like if you are cosmetics, then I'll add in FDA or whatever other area may be. Then I also look at your IP, make sure that you have your IP protected before you launch publicly. That includes for businesses. If you're going to launch a business, you need to make sure you run an IP check. Just because the domain name is available or the name is available in your state, it does not mean that is available in, under IP rules or laws. So maybe somebody has it in California already protected, but you're in New York and you wouldn't know that unless you call me and ask me to check for you. Also, I do that for advertising campaigns, and I also make sure that whatever you're using, you have the clearances. If you don't have clearances, then I file clearances for you for using the videos and the photos and whatever else you want to use. And of course, everybody has a website now. So you need to be compliant with privacy law and ADA compliant online. I don't do ADA law, but since I am on the compliance side and I'm working on your website to make sure you have your terms and conditions and your privacy and policies in place and your cookies in place, I also help make sure that you're ADA compliant, because there's been a major uptick in lawsuits in that field. I do work with small and medium agencies, small and medium businesses. I work with startups, especially to guide them, entrepreneurs. And I work with people who need the legal help but don't have the finances to have in-house counsel or can't afford the big firms. And this is, and these fields apply to everybody and anybody. So everybody needs the help. So that's who I'm trying to help. I I also do speaking. I'm speaking next week. I posted it on LinkedIn. I posted it on, what's it called?
Our Trust
Yeah.
Referral Network Slack channel.
Yeah, I posted it there. Love for you guys to join us. Should be fun. Anyway, Audrey Glover Dictor, if you would like to reach out and ask any questions, feel free to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Kristen, you are up. You're probably on mute. You there?
Hi, everyone. So now it's Kristen. So my general position is, or what I ideally like to be doing is the marketing strategy piece, and that's a broad brush. But I typically work with companies, whether they are selling off pieces of the business or reinventing themselves, or simply a new startup, as is the case right now. I'm working with a SaaS startup. Typically the clients that come to me, it's before they even have allocated budget towards search and optimizing different things. We're at the basic level of what does this company look like? What does our brand stand for? And essentially the pieces that we need to go to market. And then if need be, I pull in others, which hopefully I'll have an opportunity to work with some folks on this call. They tend to be in the small and medium-sized business, at least for the solo piece. For when I'm actually in-house, it is a much larger organization, but still within the marketing strategy team. So we're nimble, we're light. People tend to pay attention to us if we say, don't play with that dead snake. So it's interesting, keeps me on my toes. I'm also working with a school district now, which they're tackling multiple things. How do we communicate with our students, our board of directors, our board of, education. So it's been interesting getting ready for the school year, but hopefully some good things are coming our way.
So right now you're doing consulting, but you're also looking for a job as well, correct?
I am. If it turns out that I pick up probably two clients, then I would stay. So I'm not spreading myself too thin. I would stay with just on the consulting side. But for right now, it's I can't sustain that financially. So.
Okay. Well, about on October 1st, we're having a webinar led by a guy who specializes in optimizing your LinkedIn profile for job search. So if
I am signed up.
All right, wonderful. And if you know of anybody else in the group or other folks as well, you can certainly share that.
Michael,
Okay.
I can invite people to that?
Yeah, send them my way first. I want to make sure, send them my way first. I think that's the best thing to do. Okay, let's see, who is next? Rochelle, you're up.
Oh, okay, terrific. Okay, Rochelle, dynamic business growth. And I always say it's dynamic business growth and not schlep along business growth. So one of the things I want to think about right now is one of the key skills in business is speaking. How do you speak about your business? And I always say, when you speak about your business, are you storytelling or boring telling? Did you just torture me with facts and figures that are so minuscule that I'm not going to remember? Or can you tell me a success story? How did you pull a rabbit out of a hat? And just based on that story, I'm going to get and understand your level of expertise. So right now, we've got, number one, clients have to get back to stability. So there's several ways of doing it. And one of the ways is video. And I want to know, what are you doing that's great today that is going to solve a problem that most people are having? You can't give me a laundry list of 1,000 things. What is the one thing that you are focusing on that's going to make a difference? And when we do that in video, well, how are you speaking about it? What's the story that you're telling? So a lot of people pay attention to what I think their brand, their company brand. Some people pay attention to their personal brand. Who are they within the organization? Very few people, if any, pay attention to their verbal branding. How do they sound? And what's the language that they're using that you're going to create that connection? What's the emotional words that you're using that I'm going to remember what you spoke about? It is crucial in non-for-profit. If you can't tell me an emotional story, I will not write you a check. So there's a lot of things that we can do right now that people are really in trouble with, that how do we speak about it? So some of the areas I like talking about, pitch decks. If we're not clear, and especially if you have a complicated product, how do you speak about it in a way that the average person can understand it? Excuse me, so that my dog Cooper can understand it. So how do we translate that? Number one. What's your tonality? Can you tell a joke so that I'll remember your personality? A lot of that has to do with your, how do you present? Sales. Are you speaking about the company? Or are you speaking about the client? I can't tell you how many sales decks I've had to rewrite because most people start off by saying, my name is John Smith. I'm in business for 25 years and I'm located in Midtown Manhattan. And my response is, I don't care. So how do we pivot that so that the client is going to say, let's have a conversation. So pitch decks, sales decks are very good. Presentations of any type, verbal, on stage. I've done a couple of people with TED Talks. So all these areas of speaking is very important right now. I love working what I call non-sexy industries. A lot of them are family owned. So I love family owned businesses. They can be in plumbing, electrician, pest control. A lot of it's under that, what I call the construction umbrella. Dad started the business, the son's coming in, they're killing each other, and there's a new way to pivot the organization. So that's a lot about me, and I thank you for being here.
Thank you. Okay. So Christina, then Jason, and Mark Thibault just joined as well. So Christina, why don't you take it away?
Unmute first. I'm Christina Hagopian. I own a graphic design and creative direction company. For the past 18 years, Angela, you have me beat. I still feel like I've gone through the trenches of several recessions and now a pandemic in my belt. I care very much about the visual story, whereas Rochelle, I've never thought of how, the story sounds in the verbal sense. We certainly care about the words that people use to describe a business, but then we translate all those words to how does it feel emotionally and visually. That's what I do for both logo and brand development, for website and e-commerce development. And we also have a very unique specialization in email design and development, especially for e-commerce. All of the digital marketing in the world, we love to pride ourselves that email has the largest ROI, even beats pay-per-click, even beats social influencers and all those fancy, sexy trends, but email might not be sexy, but it works. So one project I'd love to share about that's about to launch this week. I think once you're in business for 18 years, one positive aspect is I can take more passion projects on. I can take on projects that I care about and that have emotional meaning, and say no to some that might not be the right fit. I've been doing that more and more lately. I'm about to launch an organization called Engage for Women, and it's a bipartisan coalition that is going to try to attempt in this very polarized political environment to make a unifying force for women all around the issue of economic security. They're not going to talk about reproductive rights, not going to talk about judicial nominations, but purely about how can we have equal pay? How can we create laws that are beneficial for families and breadwinners and mothers, and have economic security and financial planning for women of all ages. I'm really excited to be a part of it. I've built the logo, the website, the social media presence, and we're going to be launching hopefully either end of this week or early next week. And I will be sending out lots of notices about it and trying to get people to get on board. I feel like it's the small thing I can do when you don't feel like you have much control over anything else. So happy to share that and get anyone involved.
Good timing. Okay. All right. And congratulations on that launch.
Thank you.
Jason, Cement.
Good to meet you all. So I have kind of a dual identity. One side of me is Get Visible, which is a digital marketing agency. We have offices in LA where I live and in Scottsdale where my partner is. Most of our people are in Scottsdale. We have this kind of system which is called NET, which is needs, experience, and trust. That's kind of the baseline of what we build into the websites that we create for people. We do a lot of service businesses, e-commerce as well. And we have the full range of search engine rankings to search engine advertising, to social media content creation and calendaring, and then outreach and advertising, the whole thing. We don't do Sharp Spring and HubSpot, so we bring in people that do that part of the equation. So we're not really big on the follow up after we brought the traffic. So it's good to meet people that are experienced in that. And that's one side of my world. The other side is something that Michael and I have talked about is we have our own e-commerce platform that has been around for about 15 years, and it's now coming up with a release after the last 5 years. It's called Adricom. It's kind of in the middle between what you'd call Shopify and BigCommerce on the lower end and Magento on the higher end. So it's literally right in the middle. It's not an open source system, but it has APIs, so it can speak to a lot of different third-party platforms. And it's a fully integrated CMS and e-commerce. So the website for that is adricom.net. I'll put it in the chat. And we're running millions of dollars of transactions through the platform for different clients. It's because we built it from the ground up. If you have clients that need more than what you can get out of the core of Shopify, and they don't want to pay the rates of Magento, which Magento is also extremely expensive to deploy and to manage, it's a good solution. The principal business value of the Adricom system is really outsourced e-commerce. So you have a whole team that's managing everything that's technical in regard to your e-commerce existence, even including bringing in catalog data from manufacturers, and you just run your business and they run the technology. So it's good to be here.
Thank you. Jason just joined, and I did speak with his partner, his technical partner at Adricom, and it is quite an impressive platform. So I hope to be able to bring some business into to Adricom as well. All right. And our last but not least, Mark Thiebel, you're up.
Hi, I'm Mark Thiebel. I apologize for being late. I had a home inspector show up, so we had to go through that. But anyway, what I do is basically I help businesses at the front end of the branding and positioning process to be better. So I work with private clients, I work with a lot of investment banks, with some PE companies, and basically the deal is what we do is market trending, competitive analysis, positioning, go-to-market strategies. And sometimes that leads to some consumer experience work. And that's really, in a nutshell, what we do. And my best clients from referrals are obviously businesses that may be struggling, or from a professional point of view, CPAs, attorneys, and anybody that really has the ear of a business.
And Mark, you also do a fair amount of work with private equity investors. Is that correct?
That's true. Yeah. Investment banks, private equity. No, you're absolutely right. And, that often leads to interesting decisions because, as we talked about, Michael, the private equity groups, a lot of times they want to be ready, shoot, aim, so they want to latch on to something and then decide whether it's right or not. So, but you're right.
And best leads, did you mention that?
Yeah, no, I did. I basically, if you have a company of a decent size, it's in trouble. But, from the bigger companies, a lot of times it's CPAs and attorneys that have the ear of the business, or that, are potentially affiliated with a private equity group or a mid-sized investment bank.
Great. Okay. Thank you. So I will give myself 3 minutes. So my name is Michael Bendit, and my company is Software Development Resources. As the name implies, I provide software development resources. I do sales representation for about 10 different teams. People come to me when they're not really sure where to go, right? They either have an idea and it's a software idea, but they don't know what platform, what's the right kind of team, should they go with a freelancer, how do they manage their budget? So because I represent 10 different teams, I can help direct them to a team that will fit their needs, whether it's based on the technology or their budget or combination of those things. Some teams are more design oriented, but most of my teams are really focused on the back end, the programming, the sort of the hardcore, under the hood kind of stuff. So we do work very well with digital marketing agencies who tend to focus and want to focus more on the design, the strategy, perhaps other aspects of marketing like social media marketing or search engine optimization or pay-per-click, et cetera. And we tend to defer to them on all of those things, including design in many cases, and we'll build the system in the back end. I guess interesting story, we're currently pitching through a agency that we work with who has a relationship with it's a council on problem gambling, actually. It's a New York Council on Problem Gambling. They have a system that tracks all of the cases. It's sort of like therapy for people who provide treatment to people with problem gambling. And it's breaking down because it really hasn't been maintained. I think it was built by a freelancer. It's on older technology, and they basically need to rebuild it. So we just put in a budget to rebuild it. And part of the discussion was, do we use the same platform? Do we use the upgraded version of the platform? Do we use something more modern? What's the right platform to rebuild this on? So, we make a recommendation based on what we think has the greatest longevity. And not only that, where do you have the greatest number, the biggest support community? Right? There's a lot of good technologies out there that tend to be proprietary and don't have a big support community, and that could be a drawback, depending on a number of factors. For example, the system that Jason mentioned, Adricom, it's proprietary, and yet it definitely has an interesting niche. So it could be a good opportunity for lots of folks. I used up all my time, but I'll just mention that the best leads for me are, in fact, digital marketing agencies. Even though they may have some internal resources that are doing programming, they don't always have enough resources or the right set of resources. So I'm going to switch back to the gallery view. I see we've got 8 of us still on. I think Audrey had to jump. We have about 20 minutes, and our showcase presenter did not show up. So I'll certainly reach out to her about that. But I thought we'd take the opportunity to just talk briefly about the 2 companies that we're representing, Signal Insights and SoloSegment. Has anybody not been to, let's start with SoloSegment. You haven't been to a presentation there. Okay, you haven't either. So I'm gonna exit my full screen, and I'm gonna open up, and I guess Jason, you're new, so the other Jason. Oops.
I haven't seen either one either, Michael.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm bringing up SoloSegment. Give me a second. I'll share my screen.
While you're doing that, can I share one thing that I forgot to mention to everybody?
Absolutely.
Which is big news this week, is that LinkedIn and Bing are now working together. Microsoft, which owns Bing, which is affiliated with LinkedIn, and they're now if you're advertising on Bing, they're able to use the LinkedIn data system. So usually you go to LinkedIn because you're looking for people by title, by level, by industry. You can now use those indicators. Sorry, my language just left me. You can use those indicators in your Bing advertising for pay-per-click. So this is big news on that side of it. It's going to make Bing much more competitive. It's always been a really good resource for business to business versus consumer, but I just want to give everybody, if that hadn't come across your emails, that's big news in the industry. So
great. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, Microsoft owns LinkedIn. So my son happens to work at LinkedIn. He's on the.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Well, maybe was that his doing?
Oh yeah, absolutely. He's been there for a whole 3 years. So
he's doing good work.
Yeah, he does work on interesting stuff. He's a product manager. So SoloSegment. Everybody sees this. I am sharing my screen, right? Okay. So for those of you who haven't seen the presentation, we do have a presentation in our YouTube channel, which I send out. I think I send out the link pretty much every week in one or two emails that talk about the upcoming weekly events. But for those of you who aren't familiar with the product, they've actually got 3 products. They are AI-driven products. Their focus is on helping visitors to very large websites find what they're looking for. So some of their clients include John Deere, which I think is a site of 2.3 million pages. Another client is the American Society of Mechanical Engineers, which is a site with about 1.3 million pages. And they use, as I said, artificial intelligence and the behavior of the visitors who have searched for certain things to determine what's the most relevant content. Their target market, as I mentioned, companies with very large websites, hundreds of thousands of pages or more, usually very complex, associations, research or I guess research repositories. So Angela was telling me about a connection she has with an organization called JSTOR, which is a repository of all sorts of academic articles, about 12 million pages. It's a huge website. And what they do that's unique is they've got a couple of products. One is a search tool. So it uses artificial intelligence on the on-site search to help the visitors find things that are of interest based on what other people have searched for and found of interest. They also have a product called Guidebox, which is a content recommendation engine. So once you've landed on a page, it'll tell you these are other pages that might be of interest to you. And then they've got another product which is sort of foundational, which builds an entire taxonomy of all of the content on the site. So that and tags all of the content, which is really in a site of hundreds of thousands of pages is almost impossible. In the last meeting, Steve Zaker, who was the CEO, was mentioning that when they started with there he is in the video there. When they started with the American Society of Mechanical Engineers, they started with half of their total web pages, about 700,000, and they, the task is let's tag that content. Well, the number of pages that had already been tagged, and this is what they were using as a basis for search and things like that, was only 4,000 out of 700,000. So it's just a massive undertaking, and so using machine learning and artificial intelligence to do that makes it feasible. So, I'm trying to get into places like the American Medical Association Journal, so it's called JAMA, the Journal of the American Medical Association. That's a good kind of target. Actually, who else? There's a couple of other good targets. Actually, I can show you the way I track this. Can you still see my screen? Should have SoloSegment, Philips Healthcare, Hamamatsu US. These are all, the BPA is the BPA Worldwide is an organization that represents or works with a lot of B2B publications, and they think that there's value in it for their clients. American Chemical Institute, I think their website has over 2 million pages as well. So if you know of anybody who works in an organization that has, a very, very large website, that would be a good lead for SoloSegment.
Michael,
Yep.
I'm actually in talks with Schneider Electric right now.
Oh, great.
So you and I should talk about that.
Okay. For something else?
For CRM marketing automation.
Okay, great. Yeah, we have we're talking to Schneider about Signal Insights and also about SoloSegment. So we've got a contact within their secure power division.
So Michael, what about university and research centers?
Potentially. We haven't broken into them, but if we've got a good contact, we'd love to show it and get their feedback. They do have, they tend to have very large websites. I'm not sure exactly how they're used, but if we can make it easier for them and they find value in that, absolutely.
Okay, I just mentioned it because Rice yesterday, Rice University announced that they have 100 million in funding. They're starting something called the Welch Institute.
100 million, we'll take a piece of that.
Yeah.
What is the Welch Institute? Is it Wells?
It's Welch, W-E-L-C-H, and they just secured the funding. I'm just reading from it here. It says, accelerate discovery, design, and manufacture of new materials.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Okay, great. And then, of course, there's the other company that we're representing, Signal Insights. Let's open that one. So Signal Insights, for those of you who haven't seen their product, they also use artificial intelligence for competitive tracking. So their tool is designed specifically for B2B organizations. One of their clients is Toyota Material Handling, which makes forklifts. That's probably the best known among the ones here. And what they do for them is they track competitive activity. So that would be everything from what's going on the web. So stories about their competitors, mentions about their competitors, changes to their competitors' websites, which are significant, press releases, Facebook page changes, and now they're also adding tracking newsletters that their competitors put out. And so they build this daily digest, as well as, and that's on a dashboard, as well as daily emails that they send out. And they use artificial intelligence to weed out all of the garbage that would otherwise show up with, for example, Google Alerts. And they highlight using artificial intelligence what's really important. What are the important stories, the important mentions, and then do that all within the context of what are the most important things for this division, right? Toyota Material Handling doesn't care, a bit about Toyota trucks, Toyota cars, Toyota whatever. They only care about forklifts and stuff that is related to material handling. So they have to weed out, anything about Toyota that is not material handling oriented. And their product, our deal with them is 20% for 3 years. Their base product is actually pretty inexpensive. It's $18,000 a year. That includes 6 competitors and one sort of filter group of content. We're talking to Schneider about them. We're talking to Verizon actually about them. And there's obviously a lot more opportunity. These are ideally, the target here is, again, companies of 500 million or more will tend to have a strategy group or a competitive intelligence group, but may also just, maybe of interest. This is also of interest to sales groups, marketing and PR. So any of those types of contacts in these, you know, reasonably large companies are good contacts. Questions about either of these two? Of course, the full-blown presentations are on our YouTube channel, and I'll probably be scheduling live presentations next month, or probably in October. All right, any?
Michael, can you send me the links? Oh, is it just signalinsights.io? Is that what it is?
Signalinsights.io and SoloSegment.com, I believe.
Okay, got it. I got it.
Yeah, and by the way, these are both on the, if you go to our Slack channel, let's see if I can share my Slack. I want to share my Slack. Hold on. Stop share, new share, Slack. Okay. So on the Slack channel, I've got a Slack channel on Signal Insights and a Slack channel on SoloSegment. At those sites, I have links to the presentations that each of these companies gave, as well as links to the product and company profiles and some of their sell sheets. So guide box, search box, for example, for SoloSegment, Signal Insights, something similar. You just got to scroll back and find it or do a search. They're not that deep, unfortunately, not yet, but looks like these might be dead links. So that's that's how we fund this network. And that's how you can put a little more money into your pockets as we split the commissions 50-50.
Got it.
Great. We're down to the last 5 minutes. Any other? I'm going to stop sharing. Or any other comments, questions? Put your LinkedIn information in the chat box if you'd like people to connect with you. Certainly connect one-on-one. That's the best way to sort of build relationships and understand what people do in greater depth. I think this becomes an opportunity just to meet people, get a, perhaps something they say caught your ear. And I know, I think Angela, you mentioned that, or somebody mentioned that they could use some help with email marketing. And both Jason and Christina are in that world, slightly, from different perspectives. So, take advantage of this opportunity to start a connection with somebody.